Hey guys, it's Jenna Elfman from Fear the Walking Dead. I play Laura. No, I play Naomi. No, I play June. I play June on Fear the Walking Dead. And you're listening to the Fear the Walking Dead talk through on Talk Through Media.
Hey, I'm Lindsley Register, and I play Lara on The Walking Dead. You're listening to The Walking Dead Talk Through on Talk Through Media.
Hey, this is Ross Marquand, and you're listening to The Walking Dead Talk Through.
Awesome.
Hey, this is Nick Stahl, and you're listening to Fear the Walking Dead Talk Through.
Cool.
Hey, survivors, and welcome to episode 82 of Fear the Walking Dead Talk Through. I'm Brian.
And I'm LT.
And you may have heard our two latest additions to our little celebrity voice introductions this week. That is courtesy of my friend here, LT. And why don't you tell about how you got those?
Well, it's really awesome. Near my neck of the woods in Raleigh, North Carolina, we had the Carolina Fear Fest. So my daughter and I decided to go, and I got to meet Nick Stahl and Ross Marquand, and they were gracious enough to give us shout outs.
Now, they must be really, really happy to get back into the whole convention scene because, I mean, it's been a long time coming.
Oh, it has been. And that's why we were so stoked to go, because this is like the first con they've actually had in person in quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a good crowd. I know that Ross and Nick had people scrabbling for autographs, and there was a lot of photo opportunities. And if anybody's listening, I have to give a big shout out to the organizers and the staff of Fear Fest. They did a great job. It was a wonderful con. They were very friendly, and it was good to see people turning out that, this is our first con post pandemic.
Mm.
And I think that, my daughter and I both agreed there was a good crowd there. I think that the vendors were making some sales. We bought some t-shirts and some stickers and some things from folks there. And it's really good to see people coming back out and opportunities to meet some of our favorite actors.
Now, what was the attendance like?
I didn't get any of the actual numbers, but if you just want the $1.98 man on the ground,
yeah,
it was busy enough that there was a line at the concession stand. It was busy enough that we had to wait probably 5-10 minutes to get to the autographs. They had several panels that were pretty well attended. I didn't go back and get the actual numbers, but it was busy enough that you could tell they did some good business, but not so busy like, Universal Studios and Harry Potter Land on the weekends.
Right. But I'm sure that they were pretty happy to have things, coming back to a sense of normalcy,
Well, and they're talking about GalaxyCon is coming back to Raleigh, I think at the end of this month.
Oh, yeah.
And we may be making a trek to that location because of one of the guest stars that will be appearing.
Oh,
yes. I want to go because I want to finally get my opportunity to meet William Shatner.
Ah, interesting. So one thing I am curious about, were people covered, or were, most people not covered? Was it kind of like, some were, some weren't?
It was a mix of both. The con said that if you are immunized, you didn't have to wear a mask. If you wanted to, you could. They encouraged it, So, I didn't, since I've had all my shots. There were folks who did. So there was, it was, I don't know if I'd say 50-50, but there was, you saw some people in masks. And of course there were a lot of cosplayers. So they could have had a mask under their mask.
Right. Yeah. I've had that situation myself lately, like, where I was masked, but how can I say this? Here, like if you're fully immunized, you don't have to wear a mask. But there've been times where I'm still wearing a mask, and then I found a couple of times, especially in the last week, where it's like, screw it, where I'm like, okay, I don't need to wear it, and I'm not really in a busy store where there's a lot of foot traffic. There's some people in it, but there's not like a lot of people in it, so I didn't bother. But but at the same time, whenever I do that, I have my little card with me.
Yeah,
because I want to go, I got my shot. It just makes me feel better. But yeah, I was curious about that.
Yeah, the thing I've noticed up here is that it's still sort of a mix. You'll still see folks out at the grocery store, and some are masked and some aren't. And I've sort of taken it as, depending on where I'm going, I may wear it and I may not.
Yeah, like I am probably still gonna wear a mask. Like we got a thing right now where my mother-in-law, she lives in Michigan, and she is fully immunized, yet she's showing signs where we're like, when we were talking to her on her birthday a couple days ago, we're like, you need to get tested, because she was definitely sounding like she had COVID symptoms. She couldn't stop coughing, and all sorts of stuff that we were really concerned about her. So just because you have the vaccinations doesn't mean that you're completely out of the you can still get it, is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
So, okay. Well, anyway, we're not here to talk about COVID or that, but I did want to hear about the con. It was, what was it called? Fear Fest?
Yeah, it was Carolina Fear Fest.
Carolina Fear Fest. Oh, good. And glad that you were able to get those shout outs for us. Much appreciated. Okay, so we are here to discuss Season 6, Episode 15 of Fear the Walking Dead, titled USS Pennsylvania. But first, we have some feedback on Season 6, Episode 13, titled JD. And we also have some feedback on Season 6, Episode 14, titled Mother. For the first time this evening, let's listen to Rick and Simon.
We can talk about it. We're done talking. Time to listen.
But before we get to either of those, I did want to bring up some errata. One thing I thought of that I didn't think of last week was that I failed to recall that Alicia, Nick, Luciana, and Strand became bandits and tried to rob John Dory and Morgan in the first episode of Season 4. So, we were kind of giving crap to Cole and his people for becoming bad guys, but for a short little while there, Alicia and the gang were bad guys too.
Yes, they were.
So just thought I would mention that. Okay, so first we've got, for Season 6, Episode 13, JD. Why don't you read this one, LT?
Okay. Aaron starts off, another case of an awesome banner choice for the week. At least Sherry didn't let the horse suffer, but yeah, she should have never done that to start with. That was the saddest sauce this week. Sad face. I agree. This is not a horrible season. It's certainly no season 4B. Is it the best of the series? No, but it's not garbage either. Aaron, what are you thinking right now? You're a cruel man, Brian. Ha! You know Gimple, who won't let Kim back until the ratings have bottomed out. Smiley face.
Someone agree with you. I am a cruel man.
It would be great to have Madison back alive for sure, but I don't trust Gimple. Huh. It's nice to talk about good times, though. You want me to go on? You're nodding.
Okay, so now moving on to season 6, episode 14, Mother. She says, "Hey, y'all caught up to the season again. Yay, smiley face. I agree. The acting for Teddy is good. It's never the acting that's the issue with this series." Smiley face. And yes, I would agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you can get caught up when there's a week off. So, I mean, hopefully with this 2 weeks, 2 weeks left, we can kind of keep better handle on this. I don't know. Things have kind of been chaotic, and I get a kick out of when people talk about themselves in the third person, but I'll do it for this. Things have been kind of chaotic in Brian's life right now, but Brian will try to make sure to get the episodes edited in time so that they're not a week behind. But sometimes Brian doesn't always have control of these things.
And Brian.
Yes. I did an interview once with a guy, and he spoke in this entire interview about himself in the third person, and it was the most annoying thing I ever experienced. Anyway, so I will not make a habit of that.
Well, I was just going to say before you go on, LT's had all these job related issues, and when LT's on call, sometimes LT gets busy. So
I think we should cut the third person.
LT doesn't agree with you. LT likes talking about himself in the third person.
There's that Seinfeld episode. Jimmy likes you. Yeah. Anyway, it's really not that surprising. Teddy figured it out the first time, as movies have been saying for years, go for the head with zombies. Well, the thought there is that zombie movies did not occur in this universe. So that's been the thought. And there was a smiley face there that I did not recognize or mention. The location in which Teddy locked up Alicia looked almost like a supply closet more than a room. So I can see there being more rooms down the way where his people and himself go, because yes, there's no one to rule over if that's what his want, if she's the only one alive. But each, I think there's more rooms. He just put her on a supply closet because it's someone's job to feed her so she doesn't die. That was still not explained in this episode, and it still bugs the crap out of me, by the way.
Yep.
The teddy bears. LOL, LT. Smiley face, smiley face, smiley face. Again, he brings the comedy. Smiley face.
It's what I do.
To be fair, I totally forgot about Cole also until I remembered him over halfway into the episode. What sauce? Someone, please remind me, how did the sub wash up again? I have an answer for you. Very carefully. Or should I say, well, that was weak.
Yes, it was.
Anyway. Would it not sink once it stopped having power due to the weight? I could get it if
No.
it's... No.
Sorry. No.
LT says no. Okay. I could get it if it was in an area which dried out over time because it hit a sandbar or something since the crew became zombies, but to wash up when they're meant to be ocean vehicles feels plot for plot so they can introduce a nuclear option later. Was this meant to be a sub which was anchored somewhere? Still, how did it just wash up? I don't know. And
Well, I have a theory.
I want to hear that theory, but we'll wait until later.
Okay.
I'd love to see more Alicia too, Brian. Too bad they're more into Morgan. She is definitely underused, LT. And to the next thing, I would say, Alicia.
The money.
There you go.
Yep.
The money.
We have nothing that causes someone to eat flesh in reality. Actually, wasn't that the bath bombs, Brian? Ha! Well, okay. Yes. The bath salts, I believe you were talking about.
That would be correct.
Yeah, down in Florida, where I am now. Yeah, the old bath salts. Yeah, well, that was just, crazy people taking crazy things that made them go crazy. So, concept pitch. Virginia is the bad guy for this season, and you go all the way until the last 2 episodes thinking she's evil, but in the second to last at the end, there's something that sets up she may not be the big bad, if you will. And so for the finale, you have it being them versus Ginny, to where either she dies saying it wasn't you to the group because, again, assume she thinks they're part of Teddy's group until proven certain ones are, or she thinks she's turned them against him, and some yell, "What do you mean? Who do you think we were?" Because they fear someone worse than her is coming, or they get Ginny to work with them, and the end is under her interrogation saying what she knows about Teddy's group and saying how she thinks she's bad, but they have no idea about who's to come. You could then start the next season revealing things about Teddy. You could even start the season with a flashback to his jail time and see Ginny and the squad working together before Ginny either dies fighting Teddy or helps them beat Teddy. You can reveal then John's dad being alive, and is he willing to work with someone who wanted his kid dead to stop someone bigger or not? This gives more time to both Ginny and Teddy, and maybe from there, Virginia becomes their Negan, butting heads with Morgan or Alicia. Hopefully, her who's back in charge, as she always should have been, leading post-Madison, and maybe even sabotaging the way the group wants some things to go because she thinks she knows better, where you can't trust her fully, but she's not exactly the worst person they faced, arguably, or maybe she even is, but they need her for a while as she can use them. So it is this cat and mouse game to see who knocks off who before Ginny is defeated or disappears for a while before seasons down the road being revealed as the leader of a group the team has to take down again. Sure, it's a lot of use of Ginny, but the main show is to using Negan as much as they can before they have to kill him off. So why can't we have that person? No, Strand doesn't count. He's manipulative and selfish, yes, but he cares too much about Alicia and some others to say he's their Negan, if you will. But maybe that's just me. It's just an idea. I don't know how well I said that, but I'll try to paraphrase what I think you were saying. Because I went back, I also was editing the episode last week. I think that you and I were saying very similar things. And that is basically like it would make sense for this season to be a whole, Morgan versus Ginny season. And then at the end, they kind of realize that they're really not each other's enemy, that they have a common enemy, and that the common enemy is Teddy. And then, they work together against Teddy. I think that's what you're saying. That's kind of what I was saying last week, although I didn't come up with the common enemy thing, but I like what you've got there. And to me, would have been a better story.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, I mean, that was sort of like what along the lines of both of us were saying, is that it just seemed like too many snap transitions and not enough meat. But
well, it's a problem that both The Walking Dead and Fear the Walking Dead have. It's this idea of, well, we have the villain of the season or the half season. And, with the exception of Negan, who's been this kind of ongoing villain / anti-hero, they all seem to go away after a while. Like you have the governor who's there for a season and then is gone, and then comes back for a short little while. But then you have these villains that last few episodes, like the hunters and
the
like
claimers.
Terminus and the claimers and the wolves, another one. It's just another example after example like that, and the whisperers too. They've gone away now in the other show. So to me, I think this kind of thing of like a common enemy, like we've seen a little bit of this with Negan with the whisperers, but it's not something we've seen on this show. And I think that something where we would have seen like Morgan and Ginny teaming up against Teddy might have made some compelling TV,
Yeah.
But we're not going to get to see it, unfortunately. So I don't know. That's we can't make those choices for them, but
No, we can't.
all right, let's move on to this episode, which I know we have a lot to talk about. Season 6, episode 15, titled USS Pennsylvania. Written by co-executive producer Nazrin Choudhury and the executive story editor, I think, Nick Bernardone. And directed by, and she directed a previous episode this season, Heather Cappiello. The description is as follows. In a race against time to stop Teddy. I'm going to leave that in because it's so dumb. In a race against time to stop Teddy's plan, motives are revealed and convictions are tested as Morgan and his allies infiltrate and make their way through the beach submarine that holds the tools for Teddy's destruction. LT, what did you think of the USS Pennsylvania?
Well, for this, the penultimate episode of Fear the Walking Dead for this season, I'm giving it a 5 out of 10. Just another day at the apocalypse.
Well, I don't know. I seem to like this one more than everybody else. So although I have to figure out what I'm going to give it, but I think it's going to be an 8. So I'm going to give it an 8. What could it be? 8 stars that we didn't get to see in this episode, because that's probably my biggest negative. So the fact that we didn't get to see Alicia, that kind of bugged me. So that's all I'll say.
Okay.
All right. We have some listener ratings.
Yes, we do. Glennis from Toronto says 7 out of 10. Radioactive. Welcome to the new age. Radioactive. Radioactive. And if I say it, we won't get a copyright strike.
As long as you're not uptight.
Well, I could have sung it.
Yeah, well, don't.
Hey.
That was The Firm, right? The Firm, I think. Anyway, Renee from Atlanta did not like this episode. In fact, she had some harsh words. She said, 3 out of 10, Strand, you're an asshole, and Morgan, I'm over you, facepalm, and facepalm emoji. And we have a rating from Dieta from Detroit, but we've got voicemails from her, so you'll hear them later.
Okay.
Aaron from the internet. She says, an episode.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, it was an episode. It wasn't really that good because it didn't stand out in any way, but it wasn't completely garbage either.
Okay. And we've got feedback from Emma from the UK.
Yes, brand new. Thank you, Emma. First time we're hearing from you.
You could also do the new people. We like new people.
Yeah, if I had that, I would.
Okay, Emma from the UK says 5 out of 10 USS. Really? P.S. Last week's episode was brilliant, and there were quite a few good ones in this season, so I'm not hating on the show. I promise.
All right, so let's move on to Awesome Sauce.
Okay, let's get started with some listener awesome sauce. We have Emma from the UK who says, literally can't think of anything. Maybe the missile actually getting launched?
And Dieta from Detroit, we will be hearing from her in her voicemail. Glennis from Toronto, she has a couple. She says, Morgan's walker kills with his bow were stellar as usual, with jabbing the bow backwards into a walker without looking back, but keeping staring straight ahead. So cool. And then lastly, radioactive walkers were well done, especially the 40,000 Geiger counter reading one.
And that's a lot of rads. Okay, we've got Aaron from the internet says visual shots. Visuals are the one thing this season has gotten consistently right for sure. Morgan saying he only leads people to dead ends and false hope. I agree, Morgan. You should not be the leader. Huh.
All right. And then lastly, Renee from Atlanta, much like Emma, she says, not a single thing. This was one of the worst episodes this season. Not a lot of positive things to say about this particular episode.
Yeah.
All right, LT, what about you?
Well, I had one thing. I really liked the way they did the milling mobs of zombie submariners. You know, the fact that there were still members of the crew skulking about, or shambling about more properly. Since the walkers can't really open hatches, they were kind of stuck in whatever compartment they were in. And I liked the way they did the lighting in the old classic, Roger Corman sort of thing, when you heard them and they would turn the flashlight and then you would see the one in front of you and then you would see somebody moving in the back. And when they finally figured out that the crew complement was around 150, so they're thinking, well, are there going to be 148 zombies on the boat?
Now, what is typical for a submarine complement?
Well, they were about right. It's somewhere in that ballpark.
Okay. Wasn't sure if that was accurate or not. For me, I really liked the production that they did of the submarine itself. I thought it looked really good. It looked very realistic to me. It looked, both high tech and weathered at the same time. So for that, I mean, I thought that, given a TV style budget, I thought that they did a really good job of making it look realistic and um, also claustrophobic, and so I thought they did a really good job with it there. I thought it was good how, most of the good guys were on scene, at least for a short bit, but pretty much most of them were working toward a goal. And I thought that was good. I liked the team up of Strand and Morgan, which was very, how can I put it? Predictably unpredictable.
Yes.
Because I think those two just have a different way of doing things. And we definitely saw that in some unexpected ways. Strand, did something that he had done early on in the season, where he basically, that one guy Sanjay, I think his name was, offered that guy up to, that weak-minded guy who, was basically a coward. He sacrificed him so that Strand could get away, and essentially,
and he shanked Sanjay as a distraction.
Yeah, and he basically did something pretty similar with Morgan here, and I have a little bit more to say about that when we get to the what sauce. But I thought that it was interesting that he did that, and there was talk about this, and there was some discussion about, like, okay, are you doing this for yourself, or are you doing this for you? And Strand said he's basically doing this for them, but Morgan plants in the thing, well, yeah, okay, you're doing it for them, but you're kind of really doing it for so that he's doing it for Alicia, essentially so that Alicia can see that he did a good thing, kind of thing. And based on some recent personal things that have gone on in my life, I could somehow relate to that. So it kind of hit home a little closely for me. Not the kind of thing I want to reflect on, but I thought in terms of writing a character moment, I thought that it was an accurate thing to write for a character.
Right.
And I liked how we had most of the group trying to go there and wanting to get involved. I don't think that all of that was positive, so I have some things to say about that in the next segment, but
as do I.
Yes.
It was another one of those getting the band back together moments.
Yeah. So, you got John Dory Senior's there, and we got Sherry and Dwight. We got
Daniel.
Daniel was there, but on the sub, I mean,
it was Grace, June.
Yes, thank you.
Dory Senior.
Dwight, Sherry, Morgan, Strand, and was there anybody else on the sub? And then supporting were Luciana, Sarah, Jacob. Who else? I can't remember.
We mentioned Daniel and Charlie.
Daniel and Charlie, yes. Daniel and Charlie. And the one that had the baby. Can't think of her name.
Yeah. I can't either.
The one that actually had the baby versus the one that didn't have the baby. But yeah, so they were pretty much all there. The only one I remember from the season that, as far as I know, is still alive that wasn't there was the Ginny lookalike. She wasn't there. Samuels.
Right.
But aside from that, and even that one masked guy that was chumming around with Sherry, he was there too.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much everybody except for, of course, Alicia. Oh, and of course, no Althea. Al was nowhere to be found. So where is Althea besides looking for Isabel? Probably shooting a movie somewhere. That's my guess.
Could be.
Yeah. Anyway, but there were a lot of tense moments there. Could it have been better? Yes. I liked it. I especially liked it on first watch. Maybe not as much on second. I didn't get a full third. I won't maybe watch 3/4 of a third watch, but that was about it. But anyway, I thought it was better than most of the people that gave in a rating. So that's it for me, though. All right, let's move on to the week variety.
You're worthless and weak.
All right, let's start off the week's sauce with Aaron from the internet. The moment of Victor breaking the axe because, let's be real, Morgan has the plot armor to end all plot armors, so it's hard to worry about him in that scene. Thus, it renders the scene for me just as some time on screen. Morgan being upset at Victor for leading him to fight said zombies because it's not like Morgan is perfect either. He left the others just scenes before to go off on his own. Okay, he didn't throw zombies on them, but he didn't exactly stay to help either. Also, he let Dakota stay in town, which endangered his many people, arguably. Get off your high horse, dude. Yes, be mad he tried to kill you, but don't act shocked because it's Strand. And again, it's not like you haven't done shady things too, so act like he's unforgivable. Calm down, Morgan. Again, with the letting of the bad guys go. Sigh.
Yes.
Yep. And it's not like they even did it to get the location of Alicia. Morgan just let him go. Facepalm emoji. Seriously, what is to stop them from just coming back and launching the other missiles later if Morgan doesn't take the keys? Even if he does, you'll be sure to fight them again most likely because they're out there now. I get if he couldn't bring himself to do it because he has identity issues on just who he wants to be, even if he went down there with intentions to kill originally, but Strand, I'm sure, has no issues with it. Let him fire away. You can bet the Dories aren't going to have problems killing any of them, so did they maybe shoot them on the way out? I mean, they only have one exit on the sub, or so you think, that we saw, so they could wait them out and just shoot them as they fled also. The moment just reeked of, we need them in the finale for added drama, so it felt very manufactured and just super weak.
You mean...
You're worthless and weak.
The whole thing about the letting the guys go, I had that in my weak sauce. It's just like, it's like, just go. Just go? Really? I mean, okay, maybe the idea of if they let them go, maybe it'll give them some idea where Alicia is. Okay, that there's some validity to that. But that just seemed about the dumbest thing I ever heard.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you could always say, well, they're going to follow them back to their secret hideout. They're in a submarine on a beach. It's not like there's a lot of sneaklitude going on there.
Yeah.
It's a submarine on a beach.
Yep. All right. Next, we have new listener, or at least new to the podcast contributor, Emma from the UK. At least I think that's where you're from. You said, not enough actually happening. Just lots of bleeding on from Victor and Morgan about who wants to die, who wants to be a hero, what's the meaning of it all. I mean, really, in this situation, you're going to have these deep conversations?
Yeah.
I would agree.
Okay, Glennis from Toronto says the rest of the cast just stands outside looking down at the sub. All that cast sidelined in favor of Dakota. She's been in nearly every season 6 episode alongside main characters of John Jr., Alicia, June, Strand, or Morgan.
Yeah. And being a punk. And, you know, this character, obviously not a very likable character, a very, a sociopathic character.
Mm-hmm.
Not many redeeming qualities. I don't think that this is a character in the end that will be redeemable at this point. She has basically turned on every single person that she has had a chance to.
Yep.
And I don't like her. And I don't think anyone else does.
And I was going to say, for all you people who have given me sass for the fact that I like Charlie because Charlie shot Nick, well, hey, I think Dakota is proven to be far, far, far more irredeemable than my girl Charlie there.
Yeah. Yeah. Charlie was just a girl who, had been brought up by some guys with some questionable morals and really, didn't, made some bad decisions. And in the end, I just think she made bad decisions, but I think in the end she had potential, where this one here,
no.
And you could argue who was worse, Dakota or Virginia, and I think you'd have a hard time determining who would be the worse of the two.
Nope. I think Dakota has leapt ahead in that race.
Yeah, if anything, it makes you think that maybe a lot of the things that Virginia did, it was to kind of put away the bad things that Dakota did.
That's true. And you could argue that the nut didn't fall far from the tree.
True.
But I still think that even if you look at all the crap Jenny did, she still had, at the end of the day, you could arguably say she had decent motives. She had decent intentions that so far, not so much with Dakota.
Yeah. Virginia at least wanted to, build a civilization. Whereas, you listen to Dakota and she didn't really want a civilization because the civilizations couldn't, be made in her vision,
Yep.
So I guess when you have to pare the two down, I have to agree with you. I think Dakota's the worst of the two. Renee from Atlanta says the whole episode was horrible. From Morgan acting all self-righteous, talking about sacrificing himself and blah, blah, blah. Eye rolling face, eye rolling face, eye rolling face, eye rolling face, to Strand pushing Morgan into the walkers, and then Morgan acting like it was nothing. Eye rolling face, eye rolling face, eye rolling face, eye rolling face. Everyone's standing around looking clueless. And let's have another 3 eye-rolling faces. Dakota acting all psycho with 3 face palms. Tell me again, why is she still freaking alive? Riley working on the submarine as the person who turned the key, or whatever the freak he did, being the reason why he knew how to launch a submarine? Really? Really? And then we'll throw in another 3 eye-rolling faces because, we can. Morgan, what the freak is wrong with you? Very, very mad faces. Why the hell did you allow Teddy Bear and Riley plus Psycho Dakota to live? I'm over you, Morgan. I'm beginning to agree with Aaron from the internet. Eye-rolling face times 3.
Wow.
And then, of course, yes, we've got more in her voicemails from Dieta. So we'll hear those in a few minutes. All right. Weak sauce from the LT.
Well, and before I get started on my weak sauce, I was going to say they did throw it in there that Riley happened to be the weapons officer on the boat prior to washing up on Galveston shore and joining up with Teddy. So he would be the man with technical knowledge on how to launch missiles. It wasn't really loud, but that's pretty much what they said. He was the WSO.
Mm-hmm.
So
they did.
So
still no news on that impending short on the AMC.
No, still no word.
And I was going to look that up to see if I can find anything. I don't think I can, but I'm going to look anyway. Well, I see something interesting. I don't think it's anything, but it's definitely not that.
Okay.
I see Walking Dead Return of Grimes 2022 teaser trailer. I don't think that's anything.
No. Well, as far as that short goes, I saw something on one of the TV comic news websites, and all they kept saying was that it's coming.
Yeah.
So, shall I get started with my weak sauce?
Yes, you may.
Well, I want to preface this by saying I was in the Army. I was not in the Navy, and I'm not a submariner. However, I have friends that are, and I have been on several museum ships, so I've actually been inside of a submarine. The first thing that came to mind when they were traipsing around inside the sub is, what about the arms room? They managed to get key cards off of all these guys that were wandering around inside the sub. Did any of them have sidearms? There were a couple of guys that had pistol belts on. So once again, we're on my favorite topic of, if there are guns, why aren't you taking the guns?
Good point.
The sidebar to that is knowing the operational range of most submarines of that class, and we're assuming no one's been inside. There's all kinds of food and medical supplies and good things inside that sub. Of course, we know they had something to do, but again, it's just something to think about. I think the next thing that I was really wondering about is, why did he start on the bottom deck?
Yeah.
If you're going to go in the sub, and just not even me being, like I said, the caveat is I've never been on an Ohio class nuclear sub, but I've been on ships. You don't want to start in the bilge. You don't want to start at the very bottom. That he passed by 2 or 3 decks on his way all the way down, and knowing that the control room of the submarine is usually near the sail or the conning tower, you don't want to start at the very bottom, because of what did he do? Eventually he worked his way back up to an upper deck. That sort of brings my other point. Why did they have to start at the most aft hatch on that submarine? I know they had to use a ladder to get on top of it, and that the hatches are on top as opposed to this big beached thing. So you'd have to climb on top of it. But if memory serves, there are hatches more forward that they could have tried to get into, which perhaps is the way that Teddy and Riley got into the sub, and the forward hatches would be closer to the place they wanted to go. Now, I'm sort of taking for granted the fact that I said that I sort of understand a little bit about the layout of the thing, but just thinking about it, there was nobody else in the Navy. There's nobody else that's ever been on a museum ship. There's nobody else in that crew that knows a daggum thing about submarines to think, okay, we're going to start as far back in the boat as we can. Because the other sidebar to that is, if you start in the very, very back, that's where the engines and the reactor are. And just like he had to do, he had to get around them. So that's still, if you had to use a torch to cut the hatch open, why not pick one closer to the conning tower, closer to where the controls are? I just thought it was, maybe you could argue it was plotly convenient to do so, but I mean, come on, start at the front.
Yeah.
And I know we talked about it just a few moments ago about all the people that we had little 1 or 2 shot cameos of. So why did you bring all those spectators with you? Were you thinking that you needed more help? Were you thinking that maybe you needed to set up a perimeter for defense? It just seems like everybody was pretty much staring at the submarine this entire time.
Yeah.
So if you're going to bring the party bus and bring everybody in the world with you, I was just kind of going, guys, there's only so many people inside the sub. So why did you have to bring, everybody you could bring with you? Of course, something I just thought of that's apropos of nothing at this point. So who was at the naval base reading the manuals? So Grace was talking on the radio to somebody that was looking at books at the Navy base. So my headcanon says that's where Al was.
It was supposed to be Sarah, Jacob, and Charlie, I think.
No, I thought Charlie was with Daniel at the thing. So that was my last point of, if you're only going to have 6 people go into the boat, why bring everybody else to just stand around and, spectate and lollygag?
The only thing I can figure is they did that because they were trying to figure out what they were going to do, and that the boat was kind of like a place of like, okay, you go do this and I'll go do that kind of thing.
But everybody that was standing around all showed up together.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that
doesn't make sense.
Well, and like I said, that was my big thing, is that you brought this big crew of people and they pretty much were just there for the last shot when the missile flies up, so they can all stand there with their mouth open and watch it fly up into the sky.
Mm.
And somebody had mentioned this last week, and I'll go ahead and jump on the bandwagon for that. The good thing about missiles in a submarine is they're all solid fuel. So it's not like they have any liquids that would evaporate or rust through tanks or anything like that. So somebody had said, well, how do we know the missile's even going to launch? It's been so many years. Well, that's probably why.
Mm-hmm. All right.
And so I will rant about the other thing when we get to Watts. So You may go ahead, sir.
And I already mentioned the one thing I had. It's, they basically was mentioned with Aaron's. The idea of like, well, you're just going to let the bad guys go, not find out anything about where they've launched the warheads or anything, not try to interrogate them, nothing. Just let them go. That seemed kind of stupid to me.
Yeah.
And they mentioned Alicia about 15,000 times in this episode, but we don't get to see her.
They could have at least given us a shot of her nose pressed to the glass, locked in her little room in the bottom of the Greenbrier there.
Right. And we still don't know, like, what the deal is with her. Like, it makes no sense if she is locked in this room by herself. And, it's the point that we made last week. She can't start a new Earth if it's just her. because she's going to die and there's going to be nobody there to take it up once she's dead. So, unless they have cloning equipment, it's not going to happen.
Well, but no matter how clever he is, Teddy is crazy. So we could have always gone with the argument, well, he just didn't think that part through very well.
It is possible, and it is possible that he did, and it's just not mentioned. It's going to be one of those things, I think, that once we get to that point, it'll be like, oh, that's what he meant. But it's a little annoying right now. However, I feel that by the end of next week, we'll know the answer soon enough.
Correct.
So.
I'd like to think that Alicia's sitting in some congressman's suite in an armchair, eating a can of civil defense rations, waiting for somebody to let her out.
Yeah, she's having a freeze-dried lasagna or something. All right, so that is it for right now. As far as the weak sauce, I mean, pretty much everyone mentioned things that were weak, so I don't have much more to add. But let's move on to the what sauce.
What?
All right.
We'll start with our what sauce from Emma from the UK. So much. Like, how did Teddy get in there in the first place if there was so much danger in the way? Didn't see any walkers on the way that they had already killed. Like, why was there no one there to stop them getting onto the submarine in the first place? They just hopped on, opened the hatch, and climbed in? Like Morgan letting Riley and Teddy go at the end. And Victor, was he really trying to kill Morgan just so he could save the day? I know he's a complicated character, but I just don't buy that. And where did they get a Geiger counter from exactly?
I don't know, maybe
they stopped at Bill's.
I was thinking maybe Grace had them.
Well, that was my next thought.
Yeah.
She had all the other radioactive stuff. And thank you so much, Emma, because you are thinking the way that I am. That if they just let them go and they didn't go past our crew, then that makes me think that they picked a hatch that was closer to the missile room.
Mm-hmm. All right. Erin from the internet is next. She says, so is everyone going to die from radiation poisoning in a few years now? That's a good question. I don't have an answer, but we'll know soon. I guess in a few years.
Yep.
Morgan and Strand, especially given how close they were multiple times to radiation. Missile aside, it seems they should have some poisoning, but then again, Morgan has the world's best plot armor, so even if Strand gets sick, I'm sure he'll be fine. Well, what you don't know is both of them are pregnant.
Ow.
Or should I say, did that again. Keep forgetting about the new rim shot I have. Let's see what else we got. Missile aside, it seems they should both. So is Morgan going to take the keys out? Because otherwise, what's to stop the teddy bears from coming back to finish the job, as it were? Yeah, speaking of that, there was a long shot of those keys. Don't just look at the keys, Morgan. Take them out. At least take one and bury it somewhere so it can't be used again. I have to agree with that.
Yep. Because you gotta have two.
Or melt them. All right. Do you have any what sauce?
I think we've pretty well whatted everything, because the only thing about what that I'll throw in, since somebody mentioned it, is the whole thing about radiation is cumulative exposure.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that if it spiked up in certain spots, as long as the air circulation system wasn't working, it should be contained. And you can get a certain amount of exposure as long as it's not a long exposure. So I would still not necessarily say that they're going to like die of radiation poisoning, because when it spiked up, they got out of the area. I mean, it was the whole thing of if they stayed, that it would be a problem. So I don't know. I mean, we already weaked part of what that was as far as how did Teddy and Riley get into the sub, which makes me think again that they took another route other than the one that our guys chose. I think the only real what that I have left is, okay, so they launched the bird. We don't know where the warheads are going to come down. I had kidded Brian earlier that they said it had 10 warheads. And I had actually looked it up. And according to the last START treaty the United States signed with the Soviet Union, we've limited ourselves to only 5 multiple reentry warheads per missile on submarines. That point aside, just trying to plot yields and blast radiuses in my nuclear weapon handbook, that yes, there is a thing, FEMA put it out. It's going to be hard to tell just exactly where all these things are going to land, if they're going to land anywhere, because you would have to assume that before Riley launched the bird, that he actually plotted in, if we're going to say 10 warheads, that he plotted in 10 map spots of where the warheads are going to go. And unless they drop them all like in one place, that's the only part that I'm still kind of puzzled over, because everybody's worried about it. But hey, if he shot it and still had the wartime target list, I might feel bad for people in the Ukraine or in Belarus, or we don't know where those warheads are going.
It could be anywhere, really.
Yeah, because they all have to have some sort of map inputs put into them, and the terminal guidance uses either GPS signal or I think it said astral plot, which basically is the way you find your location using the stars. And even then, Riley had enough time to get a map and punch in 10 grid coordinates for 10 places that Teddy wanted to blow up in Texas. And, Rhode Island, Texas aside, Texas is a big state. So this missile is not like it was an artillery shell. The old, I shot an arrow in the air, it fell to earth, I know not where. If you shot an explosive cannon round straight up, it's going to land somewhere near where you shot it. But this is a freaking guided missile. So again, we don't know where they're going. We don't have any idea. And I'm just sort of curious as to, if he put in the coordinates of the sub itself, then okay, one of the warheads is going to come back and blow the sub up. We can think of places that they would drop those rounds to affect our survivor communities, but it's still, that's one of those leaps that my brain is not quite wanting to take right now, because just the logistics of doing it. The fact that he had to be in there long enough to punch in the map coordinates and get the thing set and do all the stuff. And he didn't have power. He was running on backups. So it's not like you can just magically go, pook, pook, pook. Okay, it's going to hit in, we're going to blow up Damtown, and we're going to blow up, the tank farm, and we're going to blow this.
Yeah. And why would you need to? I mean, like, they can't be that far apart to need specific warheads to go to each one, like you would think just like put one that's in proximity of both and you get your target,
Yeah, because you wouldn't have to be that close to destroy Damtown.
Right.
If it was and I've got the number somewhere, but if it was a 10 kiloton warhead, the tertiary blast radius where it still knocks stuff down and you've got overpressure waves and all that, you're still talking 5-6 miles.
Right.
Now, unless he wanted to be, unless Teddy wanted to be a proper bastard about it, and you put the round directly on the settlement, yeah, it would be a big smoking crater and there would be nothing left but a big burnt hole in the ground. But again, that still takes somebody knowing exactly where it is to do a map spot on it. I guess I've just wondered. That's it's one of those things I know just enough about it to say, it doesn't work that way.
Right. Is that it?
That's it.
Okay. So you've got some macro what sauce. I've got some micro what sauce. So first thing I've got is, first thing I noticed in the episode was all the bullets. Did you notice at the dam town, basically all the doors, everything had been shot up, and it wasn't like that before. So what happened there?
I didn't notice that so much. I just noticed the flappy doors in the wind and the flappy tent flaps and the lack of people.
Well, what I noticed, and I noticed this right away, is everything was all shot up. So, like, for example, you'd see a door, and the door would be a metal door, and it had 50 bullet holes in it. So, it was pretty shot up. So what happened there? Did the Teddy's people come there and try to shoot up the place before all this happened? We didn't see it. That's the first thing. Second thing, could Morgan end up dying in this and have nothing to do with a blast? Because there are a couple of times in this episode where they check to see, Morgan, are you all right? And he's like, I'm okay. Don't worry about me. Where he had been, it reminded me of Carl, where Carl was, tossling with a couple of walkers, and we don't see anything happening, but we see that he's tossling with a couple of walkers, and later on we find out he's bitten. So that immediately caught me on the first one, which would explain why Morgan was so willing to go in by himself. And then later on, when Strand kind of tries to sacrifice him, and again he wants to go in by himself. Again, if he has been bit, he's gonna go in, on his own. Again, another thing he says to Grace, he says something like, aren't you gonna, have to be there too, or something like that? And he says, first of all, there needs to be a land to, for you to, So that made me think, not conclusively, but it made me think that at the end of the next episode, Morgan will not be surviving the end of the season. He's going to be a goner. And what will this mean for the show? Well, I know this will mean that Erin will be jumping for joy. I can just imagine her, running in, running in place.
She'll have her Morgan Jones RIP.
Yes. But I don't I don't know this for sure, that those all could have been red herrings, but I did notice them all. So it was something that I saw and immediately thought, it's possible they're not doing anything here to say without a reasonable doubt that he's okay. Like June did not let June look him over.
Right.
So there's always the possibility. I don't know either. I would say it's unlikely, but it's possible. I mean, we would have thought that they would have never killed off Madison, but they did. What if they bring back Madison at the end of next episode and Morgan's gone? Who knows?
Well, and I would say we've had secondary characters get killed, but if you think about it, none of the primaries have gotten killed in a long time.
That's true. That's true. Not since Madison.
Yeah, and I don't know, man. I could kind of see what you're saying as far as the foreshadowing elements of it, but I don't know.
Now, just to be clear, I'm not saying that he's going to be killed. What I am saying is that they left some elements that make you think that he could possibly be killed.
And see, I don't think they're that clever.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give him that much credit until I see him face down. So
it is similar though to the kind of thing we saw with Carl. So again, I don't think this is what's going to happen, but it was noticeable enough that I kind of went,
Well, I guess we'll see. We'll just have to see.
I'm not putting money on it. I'll tell you that much. I'm not putting money on it. But if it does happen, then I'll say, aha, I predicted when the stock market was going to collapse. No.
Well, I mean, just to give some more credence to what you said, he was awfully lingery about that note from Humbug Gulch, the Dakota note.
He was, yeah. Yeah, he was.
So we don't know. It's as good a guess as any, I suppose.
It is this is just sheer speculation and nothing more. This is
And if you're right next week, I will declare you to be the greatest savant that's ever lived.
and if I'm right next week, I will not declare myself a savant. I will just simply say I identified this and it turned out to be right. Because I don't feel so strong enough that I would bet on this. I just notice it. Like it'd be like, if I have $10,000 to bet on this show, if there was such a thing, then I might throw a few hundred against the idea of Morgan dying, but I wouldn't be throwing my entire $10,000 on it.
Because you don't want to spend the money.
Well, I don't want to spend the money. No.
Because it is all about the money.
The money.
Yes, because, $10,000 is a lot of
the money.
Anyway, okay, so let's move on to sad sauce.
Aww.
Because, I lost a lot of
the money.
Yes, and we amuse ourselves. So
I know I wish I had a lot more of
the money.
Anyway, Erin from the internet, she says, to Strand, thinking of Alicia and wanting to keep someone alive to find her. But also it's sad because why is he the only one to ever mention her or remind others to ask about her? It feels like Strand and Alicia are the only ones who remember Strand and Alicia in positive contexts. Yes, more people do remember Strand, but that just goes back to my point. Why are more not asking about her? Alicia is a main original character, and it's like she doesn't even exist half the time to this series. She's the last Clark that we see on screen currently. Always Team Madison is alive, which is the start of this prequel. But no, let's focus on Morgan and the guest stars of the week and one of the characters whose whole few scenes of screen time this year have been as much, if not more, than Alicia's. It's so sad they don't use her more on this series. Sad face. I can't disagree with you more. Sorry, I can't disagree with you. I meant to say
Yep.
it. I don't understand it. The only thing I can think of is that she wants to be available to do other things. You know, if we find out in a year or so that she's doing a movie, great. Or, worse for her, if she was planning to do a movie, but, COVID kind of set her back, that kind of sucks.
Yeah. Okay, we've got sad sauce from Emma from the UK who says, been waiting to see this sub all season, and this is what we get. Disappointing.
Yeah, I can understand that. All right, so that's it for our sad sauce. You don't have any sad sauce, right?
Yeah, I think the only sad sauce that I have to kind of agree with Emma that we've gone all season, and this season has been so strong up until now, and I just feel like that this was stumbling at the goal line.
My sad sauce is basically things that I said last week about the pacing of it, and I think the show could have been better done with like a season of Ginny and a season of Teddy, and that's not what we're getting. So,
well, and I'll just throw it out there, something that you and I had talked about before on another podcast, on another show, is that series. I was worried about how they were going to stick the landing at the end. This season has been so much stronger than any of the seasons they've had before, and I feel like that we were expecting something big, and it's building and building and building, and then it's like wah wah. I just feel like yeah, that. I just feel like we got down to the last two, and and again, they may shock the pants off me this week. We may get something that's super stellar that ties everything up in a bow, and then I'm going to be super excited about. But if they did, then I will still come back and ask the question, why was this episode, such a crap fest? And I know that's exceedingly harsh because it really wasn't that bad, but it was still not as good as what we saw before.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly didn't seem to dislike it as much as you guys did, but I thought it could have been a lot better.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
All right. So let's move on to our listener feedback section and Rick and Simon.
We can talk about it. Done talking. Time to listen.
All right. So we've got 2 voicemails, both from Dieta. So I haven't had a chance to really listen to these because I came in kind of late, but here we go.
Hi, this is for the Fear the Walking Dead feedback. This is Deanna from Detroit, and I was calling in because I forgot the deadline and everything. So this is going to be kind of quick, I hope. First off, I want to say, Brian, you're always in my prayers. I hear everything that goes on. I love LT. Miss, oh my boy, I miss him. Gosh, his name was right on the Kyle, I miss you. Can't wait till you get back. But anyway, so this episode, I'm going to say I didn't really care for it. So I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. Only thing wasn't really anything awesome. I was kind of lost the whole episode because it's like we just jumped into the submarine. I'm like, what happened? Then the episodes is not connected for me. I don't know if it's just me. Am I missing something? But we went from John's dad and June and everybody going to Morgan's thing. Then all of a sudden now, bam, everybody's at the submarine. Like, wait a minute, what happened in between? I need some in between. I need some follow through, some follow up. You know, I know Alicia made that last minute call to Strand, but still, how did they know? I'm just saying, it's not clicking for me. But anyway, so yeah, this episode's kind of like just another episode, like they just dropped us in the scene out of the blue. No build up, basically. So I was trying to figure out, so they had some people outside the episode, then they had people inside the submarine. Was they on different levels? And they just walking through the submarine, killing all the dead people. And this is crazy. Now, I don't, Strand, so awesome sauce. Let's see, what I got for awesome sauce? Nothing really happened awesome except for Morgan surviving, being surrounded or smothered by the zombies. That was probably awesome. Weak sauce, Strand, of course. I don't know what he was called. He tried to be a hero to Alicia. I didn't get that. I know they had some words when he was, going on to manage his own, village or whatever, but I'm like, what was that all? So you gonna sacrifice Morgan to try and be a hero to Alicia? Like I said, this episode just all over the place. So, and then they showed a flashback of Teddy talking to Dakota. So I'm like, do we get a time and when she was talking? Because I still think Dakota was the spy, the plant and spy that was spying on Virginia and her villages or whatever, and telling them what's going on.
Okay, so that's part one. Now for part two.
Hi, this is Deetta from Detroit with part two of her feedback for Fear the Walking Dead. It got cut off, so I was talking about Dakota. So I know I'm talking fast. I'm just trying to get it all out before it cut off on me again. But Dakota, why he just knock her out? Just go ahead and just get rid of her because I'm so over her. She definitely needs to go off this season. I don't want to see her no more in no episodes. I don't want to see her make up and make everybody come back and say, oh, I was on y'all side all the time. I don't want to see none of that. Kill her ass. But like I said, the whole episode. So basically, yeah, so I had awesome weak sauce. Yeah, this episode just didn't really do anything for me, like I've been working with Fear the Walking Dead, trying to, like I said, it started off like it was going to be a good season. It's kind of just left me kind of with a bad taste in my mouth. But anyway, so one of the bombs they got off, I guess I'll just have to wait to see what the other episode is because and then they let Teddy go and they let the other guy go. So now we're just letting everybody go. But I'm thinking, like, wouldn't they get attacked by all the Walking Dead, the dead that was in the same submarine that they had to fight to get through to get to them? So I don't know. This episode, yeah, bad taste in my mouth. What else? That's it. So I don't know. I guess I just have to wait and see what the last episode. Sorry, so late. Thanks, Brian. Love you guys. Love all you. LT, Kyle. All right. Bye.
Well, thank you so much, Deetta, for your voicemails. It's good to hear from you. And it's kind of funny. She tried to leave a voicemail, and I thought at first it was just a phone call, so I picked it up. So I talked to her briefly before she left the voicemail. But yeah, so she thought about the same as pretty much everybody else but me. I mean, don't get me wrong, I didn't love the episode either. So
the Russian judge has spoken.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was not the greatest episode that they've done. It wasn't the worst episode they've done, but it wasn't
No.
the greatest either. So it was kind of all over the place. A lot of the things that, that they did, it's just like them all going into the ship and then them not going all the way into the ship. Like, what was all that about it? That didn't make a lot of sense. Like we were saying, I don't know.
Indeed, it didn't.
Yeah, it was just a kind of a mess. All right. Well, anyway, I'd say thank you so much, Dieta. And I'd say pretty much what you said is pretty close to what everyone else has said. I was a little more positive, but I don't think I was so much more positive than everybody else. So anyway. All right, so let's move on. We have some feedback from Renee from Atlanta.
Okay, Renee says, you guys know I'm a diehard FTWD fan, but this episode was pointless. Everything about it was plot armor, from the beginning to the end. I didn't like it at all. I didn't like it. Super freaking boring with no substance whatsoever. The finale better answer some questions like, where the freak is Alicia? Kyle McAdams, I miss you. I can't wait until you return. Brian, you and LT continue to be awesome podcasters, even if you don't have good content. Hey, I can't wait to hear the feedback on this episode. And there's 4 eye-rolling emojis. Peace and love with lots of hearts.
I don't know. There have been some good episodes here. This one may not have quite been up to par, but I don't know. Kyle, hopefully we will hear from you. The only thing, like I say, I keep seeing these pictures on Instagram of like he got a new tractor and stuff like that. So I don't know. Honestly, I don't know if he'll be back in August. Hopefully he will. I would say everyone that's on the Facebook group, please apply a lot of pressure so that he comes back. We definitely want him back. I know that I want him back. And I know that a certain spouse wants him back because the spouse does not like when I'm editing all the episodes. So anyway,
well, and the big thing is, as far as the thing, we have a good time, even if the show wasn't as good a time as we have talking about it. So
yeah. And it's always worth saying, and we were talking about this privately. We think that we have been more positive on the show than a lot of the other podcasters have been this season. So while some of the episodes haven't been up to par, we think on the whole we've been more positive than many of the other podcasters out there covering the show. So I wouldn't say everybody has been negative, but I'd say there've been more positive than more negative than positive. So anyway, moving on.
And that would be you, sir.
Yes, I know. Glennis from Toronto. She says, like the tank in The Walking Dead Season 1, Episode 1 that Rick escaped into and blasted that zombie in the confined space, we were supposed to get the backstory about that tank, but Frank Darabont's exit put paid to that episode ever seeing the light of day. Hopefully with the sub, we'll eventually get the backstory with those planned Dead in the Water webisodes. Thank you, Glennis, for finally telling us the name of that. We've been trying to remember the name of it for a couple of episodes now. Dead in the Water, which should be interesting. Well, like they've announced it, We just haven't seen it. So, like, I don't know if this is going to be a thing that we're going to see during the off season. It certainly seems that way at this point, you know, that Dead in the Water we'll be seeing in, like late June, early July.
During the hiatus.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought we were going to see it during the show, but it looks like it's going to be in the summer months between the two shows. So, is Morgan bitten by that walker before June shot it, as he seems quite determined to go it alone and die? Well, thank you. I wasn't the only one that caught this. Thank you, Glennis. Disappointed with Strand, what was he thinking when pushing Morgan into the group of walkers? Strand is now number 3 in line after Teddy and Dakota to die, as he's past the point of redemption. It's one thing to sacrifice Sanjay to the walkers in season 6, episode 2, Welcome to the Club, but to attempt to kill Morgan, that is just crazy. Morgan then saves Strand from a certain death at the hands of Dakota, even after Strand tried to off him moments ago. All life is precious, and Dakota, I'm sure, is still alive. She doesn't die like Morgan. And Morgan still lets Teddy and Riley go for plot reasons, maybe for someone to follow them back to where Alicia is in that bunker. Or if John Dory Sr. spots Teddy, he's a goner for sure, with that bullet saved especially for him. So that nuke has 10 warheads. I wonder if any auto missile defense system is still active that can shoot that missile down. CRM to the rescue? Interesting. Interesting idea.
No.
Probably not. Interesting, but probably not, I would say.
Yeah. Very interesting, but no. Without putting on the big editorial hat, is yes, we have plenty of surface to surface short range missile defense systems, but all of the ICBM defense systems were canceled back in the 80s.
All right. So, do you have anything else to offer?
Just to reiterate what I said before, there better be some real woohoo this next episode.
Better be some real woohoo. Well, okay.
Not any of that artificial Sanka woohoo. We're talking real full caffeination woohoo.
Or woohoo with chicory.
Nope. This is gonna be full unadulterated, full caffeine woohoo.
My wife recently got some coffee with chicory in it. So
it's good if you're at Cafe Du Monde in New Orleans, but other than that, I like regular real coffee.
Yeah. All right. Well, we don't have any notes, and guess what? We don't have any news, ratings, and info for the first time in the existence of this podcast. Yes, you heard it right. There's no ratings I could give. I don't have, I guess I could pull out the Parrot Analytics, but there's really nothing to talk about because there's nothing for The Walking Dead. I guess I could play it just to do it and say,
what the hell is happening?
I have no idea.
But when I'm looking at it here,
I was going to say that sounder was actually apropos. We really don't know what's going on.
Okay. So as I said, there's really nothing to talk about in this episode, because I don't have any ratings. I don't have anything really to say about the sites that I was able to get ratings from last week. They don't have the ratings up for this week yet. Showbuzz Daily is still down and whatever, down for the count. The last ratings data it's still showing is for May 12th. So we don't have anything beyond season 6, episode 14. So that was last week. As far as the Parrot Analytics, the one thing I can say is that number one, yet again, is SpongeBob. I still don't understand the SpongeBob presence on here, but it is number one with a 73.9 times the average demand of a show. And number two is the perennial top 5 show that I've never heard of, My Hero Academia, with 55 times the average demand. Again, I don't know what it is. I don't have any children. I'm never going to find out what it is. I don't care. Don't explain it to me.
It's anime.
Don't care. Number 3, Saturday Night Live with 53.6. And Game of Thrones still doing quite well in the top 10 with 52.3 times. And the number one online show is Lucifer, which of course used to be a network show. That's at 48.3 times. I guess it must be coming back.
It's on Netflix.
And also worth saying, even though it says it's NBC, I don't think it was on NBC. There was the Friends reunion that also popped up in the top 10 in number 6 at 48.2 times.
Well, actually, it just says Friends. So I'm going to assume that it's not just the reunion show, but it's everybody watching old episodes because they saw the reunion show and got all sentimental.
That's probably true. I did not watch it, so I don't have HBO Max, which I think is what it was on. So, and that's all that I have to say. That's more than I thought I was going to say because I didn't really have anything to say. But it's disappointing. It's disappointing when I don't have my ratings. I feel like I am, doing the podcast without any shorts on. So not really.
And I can neither confirm nor deny his shortlessness.
It's weird. I don't like it. For years and years and years, for 7 years, I've been doing podcasts with the ability to do ratings, and now I can't do it anymore. And why is there only one stinking website that has ratings? It's annoying. Anyway, so why don't you build a website, Brian? Well, I've thought about this. However, it costs money to get the Nielsen ratings. So I haven't done that. And there are other things I want to do. Like I want to build an Instagram thingy. So, trying to build an Instagram thingy that will like what's the word?
I don't know.
It'll automatically repost based on certain things. I want to build that when I have time, but I haven't done it yet. All right. So that's it for this week. Remember that the season finale is coming next week, Sunday, June 13th. So, and then after that, there won't be any more Walking Dead or Fear the Walking Dead until August. So we'll be taking a hiatus, except for maybe a Patreon episode or two, if we can ever get that together. So with that, LT, why don't you take us out and tell people how to contact us?
All right. We want to encourage you to follow us on Twitter at Walking Dead TTM. Also on Instagram at the same handle. To submit your theories and feedback, most people post in our designated episode thread in our Facebook group. That's facebook.com/groups/WalkingDeadTTM. You can email us at walkingdead@talkthroughmedia.com. You can use our feedback forum. That's at talkthroughmedia.com/feedback. You can leave us voicemail at area code 216-232-6146. Remember that all of our new episodes are on YouTube. Just search for Talk Through Media and remember to subscribe and click that bell to get notified when we have new videos. Those videos go out first, even before the podcast does. We would encourage you to like and review the Talk Through Media Facebook page. That's at facebook.com/talkthroughmedia. The best way that you can support us is through our Patreon. That's at www.patreon.com/walkingdeadtalkthrough. We would like to thank our Patreon supporters, Clint McCollum, Renee Murray, and Lawrence Todd. You can subscribe to us at Apple Podcasts or the podcast client of your choice. While you're there, give us a rating or a review. You can also leave us a review at podchaser.com. There you can rate individual episodes or the whole podcast. Remember to share our posts on Facebook and Twitter when we post them, and tell a friend. Word of mouth is the best way to get us new listeners.
Well, we are long overdue for a Patreon about the Star Trek podcast, and we keep talking about it. So I'm going to just not talk about it much. I need to push for that. Obviously Kyle's been busy. The next Star Trek podcast that's coming out will be for Lower Decks. And right now I'm not sure about what his participation is going to be on that or for The Walking Dead. So that's something that we're going to have to get straightened out in the next 2 months, because otherwise, like, I know LT will help, but the question's going to be, can the two of us do both podcasts? I don't know. It's a lot of work. So we need to finalize that with him, see where he's at. But regardless of that, thing that's going on with the network is the Rebinge DS9 podcast, still going very strong, still doing season 3. James and Kim are at it, and they've been going pretty steady, pretty much every week, doing DS9 season 3. And you can find them on the Talk Through Media all-inclusive feed. There is also a feed that you can find at the podcast client of your choice. Just look for Rebinge DS9, and you should find them there. The next episode of Fear the Walking Dead is the season finale, season 6, episode 16, titled The Beginning. I could not find who has written it or who has directed it. I believe it's probably the showrunners and probably Michael E. Satrazemis, but I did not get official word of that. But I'm speculating that's who it is. What I found on Google for a description is as follows. Everyone desperately scrambles to find a way to live out the impending destruction on their own terms. So, how long that means to survive that, but, sounds like time to survive in a fallout shelter, which, come Texas, I know there are lots of fallout shelters, so maybe they'll find a few. Because, anyway, I just remember seeing a bunch on Doomsday Preppers. That's all I mean. Until next time, I'm Brian.
And I'm LT.
And this is Fear the Walking Dead Talk Through. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.